Last time, you heard me talk about the Sonic series' levels. Now, you'll hear me talk about its boss battles. Likewise with the levels, the Sonic series' bosses are mostly done well. However, I feel that some shine out more than others, and that's what I'm here to talk about. For this, I'm only going to include bosses from games that I've played, and one boss per game. Other than that, anything goes. So it's time to go fast again. Let's rock! Zavok from Sonic Lost World may not be one of the greatest villains in the Sonic series, but he does have a sense of style and a demeanor that just make him a cool villain, and he packed in some fun fights. But out of all of them, the fight with him in Skyroad Act 4 in the Wii U version is the best one. Being built up for pretty much the whole game, this fight within a cumulonimbus cloud sure does pay off. Unlike other encounters with the Deadly Six, which use their trademark weapon, Zavok fights you head on, which is actually really cool. Okay, he can stomp on his mech dragon, which you're fighting on, to get lasers out, but every single one of his attacks are done with his own strength. Zavok also has infinite health in this fight, which may seem daunting, but the way you beat him does become more clear. After kicking and homing attacking him enough times, Zavok will begin to lose balance on the edge of his dragon, which you then have to homing attack him at full power in order to finish him off. Otherwise, your attack will fail and Zavok will just get right back up. What I like so much about this fight is that it's a big challenge compared to other fights in the game, and it's overall the most fun and memorable battle in Lost World to me. Great job, Zavok. You sure put up a good fight. If that wasn't an intimidating intro, I think you need to understand intimidation more. The Kyurei Eggrobo nearly takes up the whole screen and will attempt to crush you with just its fingers. While the fingers are telegraphed very well, you need to be wary of when they're going to get up again, because when they're down, you can damage them. After each finger is destroyed, the second phase will commence. In this phase, the Kyurei Eggrobo will be chasing you and you need to get the core exposed and hit it until it explodes, which you have limited room in order to do so because that core will fire a very fast laser that can catch you off guard. And after all of that, the robot explodes and Eggman will try to escape with the Master Emerald and you need to chase him down and deal the final hits, finishing him and saving the Master Emerald. God darn, that's a tremendous upscale from previous bosses, not just in the Genesis games, but out of Sonic 3 and Knuckles as a whole. There's a lot more at stake, it's got the right amount of challenge, and it was just a very fun and intense fight. Sure wish other Genesis bosses were like this. What I liked about Gamma's story was his internal struggle to free himself from Eggman's control. The story followed in his footsteps as he endured everything he had to do to achieve freedom, and the last part of his story, he had to take on the very original E-Series unit, E101 Beta, who had been upgraded into his Mark II form. Unlike other boss encounters with Gamma, in which you could shoot wildly and still win, you have to think your way through this battle, because Beta will either dodge or swat away any wild shots you shoot at him. To win this battle, you have to wait until Beta does a super punch. When he does this, he leaves himself wide open to an attack, and every time Beta gets hit, he'll add in more attacks, like homing missiles and shots that cause nuclear explosions. But as the fight concludes, Beta shoots Gamma before exploding and revealing the Flicky inside him. And after Gamma meets it, he realizes he was made from a Flicky as well. Being sad of this fate, Gamma succumbs to his blast wound and dies, letting the Flicky inside him go free. Wow! For a series that focuses on much more intense bosses, it's great to see a boss that actually has some emotion in it. And that emotion, combined with the overall fun factor of the fight, is what gets it on here. It may be sad to see Gamma go, but he sure did leave a great impression. Metal Sonic's been a fan-favorite character and boss ever since his first debut in Sonic CD. Because of his popularity, he's had several fights in the series. However, the one I'm going to be talking about is actually one I never hear get talked about. The first fight with him in White Park. Right from the very start, you notice that this fight takes place on a roller coaster track. And since it's easy to gain high speed on roller coaster tracks, you know this is going to be a fun fight. Throughout the whole fight, Metal Sonic will constantly be drifting ahead of you and all you need to do is hit him with whatever you got. Meanwhile, Metal Sonic's got a big arsenal of his own. He can roll into you, shoot electricity to create electric walls, destroy a piece of the track, which is an insta-kill by the way, and charge all over the place. What makes this fight for me is just that it's too much darn fun! This is a well-designed high-speed brawl that puts your reaction time to the test, and it just provides a huge blast of fun all the way through. I faced this boss numerous times, and I'll probably face it some more. Merlina from Sonic and the Black Knight is a really interesting character. Throughout Black Knight, she acted as Sonic's guide and friend, but deep down, I always thought she felt bad for something. Flash forward to near the end of the game where King Arthur is defeated and...
Well done. And thank you, Sonic. With this scabbard, I can erase my grandfather's greatest mistake.
What?
I shall make this kingdom eternal.
Yes, all that adventuring you did throughout the whole game was actually all for Merlina taking the power of that scabbard for herself in a quest to create a new kingdom that would last forever. And after an incredibly emotional conversation between her and Sonic, and after more truths are revealed, Merlina is not exactly willing to find solutions that Sonic deems peaceful, and after an absolutely incredible transformation scene, it's time for the final battle with Merlina, or as the game calls her, the Dark Queen. During this entire fight, the Dark Queen will be using her magic to launch projectiles and swing her giant broadswords at you. However, you have Excalibur during this fight, so you can swing it to counter anything she has, or just dodge in the case of her projectiles. But you notice that there's no actual way to damage her at the moment, but the more you counter her blows, the more your soul gauge goes up. And in order to get any damage on her, you need to use that soul gauge to perform soul surge slashes at the Dark Queen, which depending on how you swing your sword, can be the difference of not doing that much or taking a large chunk of her health away. As the fight goes on, Merlina will attack faster and her projectile patterns will get more erratic, so you need to be prepared to dodge and counter as much as you can. And when it's all said and done, Merlina will be defeated and you'll experience the beauty that is Sonic and the Black Knight's ending. So yeah, this boss packs in plenty of emotion, plenty of challenge, and plenty of fun. And those are all good factors to make a great final battle. Also, I need to say that this battle has an absolutely brilliant final boss theme. This song, called With Me, perfectly captures the emotion and intensity of this fight, and it's overall just a great song. I wasn't the biggest fan of Sonic 06's final episode. Having Sonic die just felt kind of tacked on, the end of the world level was terrible, and it felt a bit empty in terms of the wow factor. That is, except for one element, which truly stood out in my eyes and made me happy that I played Sonic 06. And that is the final battle with Solaris. Now some of you may recognize this battle as number 3 on my old final bosses list. Well, this may not be my favorite final boss in the series anymore, but I still love this fight. To start off, this entire fight has you playing as not just Super Sonic, but also Super Shadow and Super Silver, and this fight will require you to use all of their abilities to take down this opponent, especially since you can only damage him with one character at a time when the fight begins. Regardless of who you're playing as, you need to be on your toes and react to everything Solaris throws at you, including dark meteors and lasers. Solaris fires these attacks very rapidly, so you need to go as fast as you can, while simultaneously dishing out as much damage as you can. And even when you deplete his health bar, he comes back with a second form. In this second form, Solaris is even more dangerous, because not only is he even faster with his lasers and meteors, but he can now fire shadow balls, and holy cow! Does he think that's enough lasers? And even though you have to do the same thing as before, it is slightly changed a bit, because Solaris cannot be damaged when he's just sitting there. He can only be damaged if he's using any sort of laser, so you need to wait until he shoots one, but even then, you need to be wary of where it's going to make sure you don't get caught in it. And if you can get past all that, the end will be all the more satisfying. You know, for all the stuff 06 did wrong, I was happy to play the stuff I enjoyed and reach this amazing final battle. It was sure worth it. I don't need to say how amazing the second phase's music is, do I? One of my favorite parts of Sonic Adventure 2 was how much Sonic and Shadow progressed through the story. It was crazy to see how much they went through within the course of the game, but since their goals clashed with one another, it was inevitable that they'd have to have a big showdown at some point. And at the end of both the Hero and the Dark story, they get to duke it out one last time. And it is an utterly magnificent duel. I've only mentioned a part of the build-up, but there's another part of it. The place you're fighting in, the Space Colony Ark, is in a state of firing the Eclipse Cannon at the world. Sonic wants to stop the cannon, while Shadow wants to stop Sonic from doing that. And in this last fight, it's just Hedgehog versus Hedgehog with near identical abilities in a high-speed brawl. All you need to do in this fight is just hit your opponent with whatever you have, but the thing is, your opponent has the same abilities that you do, so he can use them to defend himself, and he will do just that, especially against a skill you previously hit him with. At the same time, you need to defend yourself from his onslaught, because since he can defend himself easily, that means you can do the same. You also need to keep moving in this fight, as the road you're on is constantly collapsing. At the same time, you can't get too far behind your opponent, because he will use the ranged attack to assault you with. You need to find easy openings so you can easily nail him, and when you finally win, it's all the more satisfying. The reason as to why this fight is so amazing is that it's a true test of skills against an opponent who's equal to you in almost every way. Your opponent gives it their all in this battle, and so must you. This is what a battle of equals should be like. What I like so much about Sonic Generations' boss roster is that it took bosses from older games and gave them new spins to feel so fresh and new, and in some cases better. And when they did this with one of the series' most hated bosses, we arguably get one of its best fights. The fight with Silver the Hedgehog in Generations shows how much aspects of Sonic can improve, going from a laugh fest to an absolute spectacle. Silver will use all kinds of psychokinesis to bombard you with, including throwing debris at you, smashing you from above, using a discount Psycho Cut, and forming a battering ram to bulldoze you with. He does all these really quickly, so you need to react quickly and find openings to attack. And after a certain amount of hits, Silver blows his stack, forms a gargantuan ball of debris, and tries to bulldoze you with it. In order to win, you need to get close enough to nail Silver one last time, and you get treated to satisfaction as Silver falls back into his own attack. As you can tell, this fight annihilates whatever Silver's 06 fight had to offer. It was a lot more intense, it was a lot more fun, and it felt like a true Sonic boss. Now all we need is an attack where Silver grabs you and says it's no use. I don't believe me either. Bosses in Sonic Unleashed usually follow the trend that Sonic the Hedgehog faces Eggman's machines, and Sonic the Werehog faces Dark Eye's minions. But in the final confrontations in Eggman Land, they do something very different. Your final test with the Werehog is a duel with the one who turned Sonic into a Werehog to begin with, Dr. Eggman himself. And after the last Chaos Emerald is restored, Eggman assaults Sonic with a strong creation called the Egg Dragoon, destroying the ground and causing Sonic to fall towards the Earth's core, where Dark Gaia is, which leads us to this masterpiece of a fight. Unlike most other fights in the series, Eggman's gotten really serious. After he went through all his work to split the planet, awaken Dark Gaia, and make Eggman Land, all that progress lies within this fight. Meanwhile, Sonic not only wishes to stop Eggman and restore the world, but he also has a very strong vendetta against him for turning him into a werehog. Needless to say, this fight is very personal. Eggman's got a large arsenal in his creation, like fiery shots, ice blasts, swinging his drill, calling in his robots to hinder you, and firing his drill into the platform you're on, destroying it, and making you fall farther towards the core. And unlike most other Eggman duels, where you hit him with things like jumps and the homing attack, you have to use your combat to hammer in his weak spot and legitimately tear pieces off. After enough damage is done, the final QuickTime event has you jumping on top of the Dragoon, destroying Eggman's control over it, tearing the Eggomatic from it, and sending Eggman flying. Oh yeah, that definitely feels good. As you can tell by this point, this fight is probably one of the most insane fights in the series. It has great build-up and excellent payoff with how fun and crazy things get. It's definitely my favorite normal boss in the Sonic series. However, there's one Sonic boss I enjoy even more. So after saving every planet part of Eggman's amusement park, the Wisps are now happy and you feel very satisfied. That is until the Eggster shows that he has enough energy for his mind control laser, but because a part of a previous boss you fought damage to the laser, the thing blows up and starts taking the whole amusement park with it. And after you run away from the destruction, Eggman pulls out one final card. Oh goodness, this friggin' fight! If Colors was going to end with a true final showdown between Sonic in his purest form and Eggman in his purest form, the Nega Wisp armor was the real way to go. As soon as the fight begins, Eggman will show that he has harnessed the Wisp powers in excellent ways. He'll use various attacks based around these powers in very creative ways that require a very fast reaction time. And when he gives you a chance to hit him, it's all incredibly cinematic and a lot of fun to land even just one hit. And when you get his health down to a certain point and free Wisps from Eggman's grasp, he'll become a lot more aggressive with his attacks, speeding them up and making them harder to avoid. But after hitting him enough times and having every Wisp in the game at your side, you get the final Color Blaster, which absolutely decimates this boss and brings Sonic Colors to a glorious end. In the end, this fight packs in everything I love about a Sonic boss. It utilizes your skills in a great manner, it's fast-paced, it's insanely intense, the atmosphere and build-up are amazing, the music is absolutely godlike, and the fight itself is just a climactic and perfect conclusion to Sonic Colors. My only problem with it, being that it can end too soon, is pretty much rendered null and void by what this fight does right. Just god darn Eggman and god darn Colors. You went all out for this finale, and you bet it paid off.
I'm the Lightning Ripper, and boss battles will always be something I love in the Sonic series, and in video games in general.